de minimis. And other than just being a word that I often misspell, and I just want to say it's not my fault. The first time I saw it written, that person misspelled it, so I always misspell it from here on out. And also, I'm from Utah, and we kind of have a drawl in Utah, and so instead of saying de minimis, we say de minimus, and so I always spell it wrong. But you might be asking, what is de minimis? And de minimis is a Latin word, and the root of it comes from minimal, and it's basically, what was the word that I was thinking of? Anyway, it's basically the minimal amount or the trifles. And the way it came about in the law is in 1939, and I'm talking about for the United States, in 1939, they decided that the cost to collect goods was more expensive than the use of collecting certain goods under a certain value. And that's when they came out with the first de minimis. They set it to $200. Later on, about 15 years ago, I don't know the exact date by memory, but they moved it to $800. Well, I think a lot of people know that recently de minimis is completely gone, which means that instead of having a threshold where they don't collect duty on a certain amount, they now collect duty on all the trifles or all the small amounts. See, I thought originally when I heard of de minimis that the United States just really cared about us poor people and they didn't want us to have to pay taxes if it was a small amount. I guess I was wrong. It was the trifle reason instead. And now with new technology, they actually have the ability to collect the duty and the taxes without it costing them more than the cost of collection. Okay, so one of the things that comes up a lot in our business is people think, well, we're just gonna wait for this de minimis phase to go away. And the truth is, I'm sorry to say, it's here to stay. The United States lowered their de minimis to $0 last year under the Trump executive order. And the United States Congress also passed a law that the de minimis will be zero, but that doesn't get enacted for a couple years. So even when the executive order is up, it will be still zero in a couple years. But not only that, other countries are following suit. Thailand, January 1st of this year, changed the de minimis to 1 baht, which is effectively zero. And other countries are following suit. The European Union is getting rid of their minimum amount for entry. I think that's coming this year. And then the United Kingdom has announced that they're going to be getting rid of the de minimis in the next 2 years. So needless to say, I think de minimis is truly out. And it's instead of thinking you can wait it out and not deal with the consequences of it, we're going to have to be able to adapt to the de minimis. Now, what are the consequences? Obviously, now that the government doesn't want to deal with the trifles, the small amounts, any package that crosses the border is now going to be charged duty. And one of the biggest impacts of the packages being charged duty is that I think everyone remembers when the United States first turned the tariffs on for zero de minimis in, what was it, February of last year? And then they turned them back off real quick. Well, there was a reason for that. Because they had gone so many years without collecting duty on the low-value goods, they weren't set up with the manpower to be able to collect them. And I have a true story for you. There's a man, his name is Larry. He's the sole worker that goes through and does customs for LaGuardia Airport in New York. And there was no way that Larry could look at every single package under $800 that came through the border. And during that, I imagine he's still going through the packages that came through that first week back in February last year. So the biggest impact that's happening now is that you want to be able to collect the duties up front and pay them DDP. And all of us know the difference between DDP and DDU. And I know it's DAP now, but I think my slides all say DDP, so we're just going to stick with DDP for today. But in this slide, it shows that you can either charge like the duty up front, and there's no additional cost when it gets there. That's DDP. And the DDU way is you ship it without paying the duty, but then it needs to be paid by someone on arrival. Right now, for shipments into the U.S., for duty, you're not even allowed to pay on arrival. You have to prepay your duty. And but even if we're talking about the rest of the world, shipping DDU has its problems. And one of the biggest problems, and I hear about this all the time, and that with Zonos, we help people ship DDP and calculate DDP in advance so they can collect it up front. And one of the biggest problems is customers will select DDU because it's a lower price. So if I go back a slide, of course, like if I'm checking out, I'm like, I think I want to pay the 53. I don't want to pay the 67. Well, the best thing is don't offer the 53, do the 67, because that's the actual landed cost to get it there. And you'll see less abandonment. And of course, at first, it might turn away a couple more people, but it's a lot better for your company. First of all, it helps with trust. Your customers will trust that they actually know the cost when it gets there. Having a surprise on your doorstep when the carrier shows up and says, oh, here's your package, but I need $45 before you can take it, that creates a lot of frustration with your customers. It also causes a lot of abandoned packages. Abandoned packages are really costly because not only do you lose the sale in that case, but you also already paid for freight to get it to them. You now have to pay the freight to get it back. And most of the time, you'll choose to abandon it as well because it's not worth paying it both directions. So in the end, the best option is definitely to go DDP. And, oh, I think I was on the wrong slide. I'm sorry. I thought I was on this slide. So there's so many screens up here, and there's lots of lights, so I'm confused. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, like this is saying, you see a lot of customer churn when you are shipping DDU. And I think we already covered the DDP flow. Okay, so another advantage of shipping DDP is that by calculating up front, you can make sure that not only does your customer know the cost up front, but it also helps you get your paperwork in order, and it helps you have a better insight into the compliance side of shipping. And it also makes it frictionless. Being able to clear a package without having it stopped and then collected reduces so much of the friction that comes along with getting packages across the border. All right, now we'll go into part of the compliance side, and is the HS codes. Classifying an item. That's probably one of the biggest questions that gets asked to us at Zonos all the time, is how do I classify my items? And right now, so I've been working at Zonos for 15 years, and Classify, I'll have to admit, is the hardest product to get right. And even before AI was on the scene, Zonos had a product where we were doing really good at classifying. But now that we're able to train our AI models with our old Classify rules and the data sets we have, it's making it even better. And also, the EU is now changing where they're requiring an HS code to get it across the border. And the amount of data that you need to have about your items crossing the border is increasing. As the software and the capabilities increase, the requirements are going to increase as well. And so that's one of the biggest reasons why you want to partner with Zonos or someone where you can make sure you have exactly the right HS code, that not just to the 6 digit, but you need to get to the country HS code. And if anyone has questions on HS codes and what they are, I know I didn't explain anything about those. We can take some questions afterwards. A couple of the fun things that obviously we have Classify on the top here. A couple of the fun products that Zonos is working on lately. I just wanted to point out that we do have the Classify and country of origin on the very top there. One of my favorite products that we're working on is the Zonos Vision, where we're using camera glasses to be able to read a barcode and also classify an item as it's going down a conveyor belt. Like I said, it's really exciting age, of course, because it's so much easier to get the data. They did lower the de minimis, and I don't think anyone likes paying the extra duty. But at the end of the day, a lot of the fun stuff coming from tech is so exciting for me, like that vision is exciting. Anyway, Does anyone have any questions about DDP or zero de minimis, any of the changes? All right, well, I think that's it for me then.